it. I really lost it. There we go.
We're on? All right. It's been a while since I remembered my ding dong goal. We'll call this meeting to order. This is the meeting on January 7th, 2026 of the Glendale-River Hills School Board. Beginning with roll call, Chris Robinson. Here. Katie Avalos. Here. Karen Cronwell. Here. Danielle Bailey. Here. Carla Pennington Cross is here. Everyone is here. At this time, if you wish, you may stand and join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to item 1D, agenda approval.
Move to approve agenda as presented. Second.
Motion by Karen Cronwell, second by Danielle Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item 1E, approval of board meeting minutes from December 17th.
I move that we approve the board meeting minutes from December 17th, 2025. Second.
Any comments, edits?
Yes, under 6C cleaning services, it says Miss Robin Dunn instead of Miss Robinson.
Guys, Robin Dunn.
I'm sure you.
Nice catch.
Much.
Thank you, Diana, for making that edit. Anything else? All right, motion by Karen Cronwell, second by Danielle Bailey to approve the meeting minutes for December 17, 2025. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to a very simple meeting grounding, mostly because I forgot to assign it to someone. Happy New Year. Welcome back. I've been thinking about optimism and how it is a choice and a practice, like resilience and hope. Just something we have to hold on to. And I have a lot of optimism for our school district going into 2026. And it's going to be Martin Luther King Day soon. And so I have my favorite quote from Martin Luther King in 2026. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. That's a very optimistic quote for me. And that's what we've been doing since we've all gathered as a board and as an administrative team, and with Mr. Martin always here supporting us. So thanks, everyone. Let's stay optimistic. And our other regulars, welcome back. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you're here. We missed you. All right, moving on to item 2A, public comments. At this time, you may, if you wish, any visitor may speak on any non-agenda item. Mr. Martin? And join our auditor, Jared.
I'll make this one relatively quick. As I think everyone knows about the falls at the state level regarding reporting alleged abuse to police officers and the state superintendent versus reporting to police. And I was looking at the Glendale-River Hills policies, specifically policy 8462. Under that policy, on those reporting procedures, there's the employee shall immediately call the local office of the child welfare department or local law enforcement agency. I'd like the board to at some point consider changing that or to an and. Which obviously you don't need to get rough on that, but just my 2 thoughts.
Thank you for that comment. We have a policy review coming up, and that is in the policy review.
Great, thank you for that comment. I don't know about this controversy though. I missed something?
It's there's a reporting, it's Act 57. I can send you information on it.
Okay.
Act 57 is really taking a look at making sure that the reporting structure is stronger.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Martin. Moving on to item 3A, the 24-25 audit, and we have Jared from our firm here. If you shall, do you walk us through that?
You guys want me to talk into this, or is it fine if I don't?
It's up to Diana whether you're picking up.
If you're loud and clear, it's right here. So
Okay.
They're try about.
You could turn it
I don't
on,
know if I'll be able
maybe just turn it on, it'll
Yeah,
pick you up.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Alright, so I'm Jared Glensmeyer with Hawkins Ash, CPAs, and I'll be doing a little audit summary on the 24-25 school year. So first, I'm gonna start with the financial statement, on page 3. If you guys want to follow along, you can. So this is the independent auditors report. This basically just goes over what opinion we give for the audit, which we gave an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can give. So then next, I'm going to go to page 16 and 17. This is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. So just to do a quick review of the general fund. The unassigned fund balance was 7.1 million, which increased by around 9 million compared to the prior year. And of that 7 million, approximately 36% of that that equates to 36% of the general fund budgeted expenditures. Which is really good. We recommend that unassigned amount to be around 20%. So that's in really good shape. Then I am gonna skip a decent amount. Note 1, which starts on page 19, is a lot of verbiage, a lot of our standard verbiage that we have to put in the financial. Note 2, it shows your cash and investments. Note 3 is your capital assets. And the one thing that I wanted to point out.
Just go a little bit
Yeah.
slower, cause I just wanna keep up.
Well, or give us the specific page, if you're just paging through
Yeah.
right now in order.
Yeah, then no.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm starting at page 19 when I flip through, which is note 1.
Yeah, got that.
This just goes over general information
Mhm.
about the district and just general verbiage that we put in.
Okay.
Mhm.
So on page 24
Mhm.
is cash. And page bottom of page 23 and those are 24 is the cash and investments. Which is gives us a brief overview of those totals. Then on to page 25 is the capital assets, which the top portion on page 25 is your general capital assets, then the bottom is the leased equipment. On to page 26. This shows your long-term obligations, which this year there was a $6 million note payable that was added. And then the big thing that changed this year is compensated absences, which it shows vacation and sick. Where this year there was a new GASB that we had to implement. And so you'll see, like on last year's financial, there was no balance for vacation and sick. We had to add that this year as a beginning balance. So in a later note, you'll see a $1 million correction to the government statements.
And Gatsby is government and accountability.
GASB,
What
That
does it
is-
stand for? Government accountability
standard
standard for,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
So that was new this year. That was the big thing in a lot of ours. As you can see, there's a $1 million difference compared to last year. But that doesn't affect anything on the governmental fund statements. So then. So note 6, starting on page 27, is WRS, which this is all the verbiage that we get from them, and all the numbers we get from them, and we enter that into note 6. Same with note 7, which starts on page 32. with the retirement life insurance fund. And then on page 8. Is or not page 8, note 8, page 36. Is the supplemental pension, which is the same as WRS. We get all this information from the supplemental pension and we enter that into our financial statement. On page 39. Note 9. This just shows your interfund balance activity. And your transfers for the year, which are very small. Note 10 at the bottom of page 39 is your post-employment benefits or OPEB, which is the same as supplemental pension, just a lot of verbiage. Then on page 42. Note 11. This just goes over your fund balance and net position, kind of just breaks it down a little bit more in one spot instead of looking at the front of the financial and the back of the financial. For those separate amounts and kind of what their purpose is. Note 12 is just a note that we have in every single financial. Note 13 on page 43, we list all the leases that you have. Note 14 is the transportation agreement. Note 15, another note that we have in every single financial. And then note 16, this is where you can see on page 44 where that adjustment was for unstated absences for 1.1 million, which is labeled change in accounting principle. And then the error correction on there is just an adjustment to capital assets. There was an adjustment that must have been something for prior year from the third party that they added. So we just added it and we have to show it as an error correction. We can't show it as prior year adjustment. That is the new words that they want. I know it sounds harsh for just an adjustment, but then moving on to page 56. So this is your federal awards broken out. So it totals 1.1 million this year, which was a decrease of 400,000 compared to prior year. And then the next page is the state grants, which was 2.8 million, which was an increase of around 700,000 from prior year.
Is the prior year listed on these, or you just know that?
I just have that written down.
Oh, okay. You would have to look at last.
You would
year.
have to look
Okay,
at prior
I just-
years,
okay.
yeah. Then the last thing in the financial that I wanted to point out, county village. Starting on page 59. There's two letters, those are basically just go over single audit information. And then it's just page 64, this is a little more information on the single audit, what the major programs were. And then on page 65 shows the findings for this year. Which we only have one finding, which was preparation of financial statements, and that is on every single school district that we do the financial statement for. So the only way that you'd be able to take that off is if Michelle were to prepare the financial statements, which, I mean, most people don't do that.
Right.
And then compared to prior year, there was 7 findings. So a lot of improvement from prior year. And then the last thing, which is in the those charter of governance letter, which would probably be at the front of your packet. Maybe, or is it separate? Yeah.
Oh.
So there you'll find the journal entries. for the year, which we proposed 6 auditor journal entries. Which we say anything less than 10 is very good. So. The books are kept in great shape.
Or what does that mean? You said we proposed 6 audit or
Journal entry.
Journal entries, so. We found 6 items where. We think that the book should have been changed.
Okay.
like,
6 accounting correction.
Okay.
Basically,
And point me to where it's saying not in this document.
So they kind of.
appendix A,
There it is. Journal.
Oh, so
And-
these are the 6, okay. got it.
yeah,
Thank
so.
you.
And we so if any of those journal entries, so we have a materiality that we look at. And if those are over that amount, there would be a finding for material audit adjustments, so all of those journal entries are under that material amount.
The total amount,
No, individual,
okay.
so that is about all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm sure we do. Let's start with Chris. Or Chris, are you still,
I'm sorry, I have notes here, I'm finding them.
okay? Are you okay with me starting with these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just wondering, since you look at other schools as well. Does there happen to be a recommendation for a healthy balance between people instruction and instructional services versus administrative and business services? Or is that just a completely individual thing based
Yeah,
on transportation costs and all that other kind of
Yeah.
stuff?
And that's something we really don't
Okay.
focus
Got it,
on those details.
got it, okay. No, I just wanted to
Yeah.
give you a recommendation. It sounds like it's more individualized.
Yep.
Okay, just a note, we don't go through 12th grade. I think it said that in
Yeah.
one of the pages. And, there was a note, and I don't know what page it's on here. It was in the original 30, page 30, I think, that the district's bank balance was uninsured and uncollateralized. Does that mean we should just spread it out over different banks so to meet the is it the FDIC insurance?
Yeah.
Is that what we were
Yes.
talking about? It was page 30 on the original, it might be 30 here too. I don't know if the numbering changed.
Yeah,
24.
page 24.
Okay.
Yeah, so. So, some of our schools they have like a collateralized amount
Mhm.
that covers that. Cause in. The FDIC, there's only 1.5 million that is covered
Okay.
per bank,
Mhm.
so that's just what that means.
Okay. Thank you.
So should we is that something you're recommending we address or Michelle? I mean, just curious about that.
I mean, if you guys would like to, there's a lot of schools that are like that,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, do you guys want to have that many separate banks?
Yeah.
That might just make things a little more difficult.
Yeah.
I can check too with our bank to see the cost of collateral, right?
Yep.
Giving us a level of collateral.
Yep.
For our funds.
Thank you, Chris. Katie?
I didn't read nearly as deeply as you.
A lot of words.
Yeah, I don't really have anything, I mean, it seemed like good news and I like good
Yeah.
news, so. It's nice to have it reinforced though, that they are as on top of things as it appears.
Yeah, for sure. I think, this is it's. Not as a judgment on you at all, the language of this kind of thing, if it's not what you live and breathe, is really
Yeah.
complicated to wade through,
Right,
right?
yeah,
And so I was reminded that, doing the job I do, I present documents to people all the time too, that are probably really hard for them to understand. My takeaway was that on the whole, you found things to be going well.
yes,
and there aren't significant concerns. Even though the phrasing suggests that there are concerns, that's just the technical
It's,
phrasing.
yeah, a lot of it is just how things
Yeah.
are laid out now and, you
Yeah.
know, I guess very blunt
Yeah,
to say,
well, and that's, I mean, transparency is good.
yeah.
I always, yeah. So materially, there's no significant recommendation. I would just want to say thank you for all your work and truly for, I mean, this result is. As we had hoped when we hired you, a vast improvement over where we were just a few years ago. So. Thank you.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Just 2, incredible.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, sort of just to clarify, I think I'm on the heels of what Karen is talking about, but just to lay it out for me, on page 3 of the reports on communication to those charged with governance. So the significant risks identified, and it lists 2, are those specific to our district?
No.
Or those, you always put those
In every
on
single report.
every single report, those are just the potential for, okay.
Yep.
And that, okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that, and then there is one.
It's a big question that everybody else had.
Well, I mean,
Can you get those off?
it's a way to, well, you don't have to, but I do think it would make sense to address it in some way. Either in the letter, report, or presentation. On page 7, then again, and I'm just clarifying, 'cause I know you said there's no significant issues, but so. And it talks about the timeliness of requested audit items, the timeliness of requested audit items for auditor aid certification. Again, is that like,
So that's a new comment for us this year. So we have in our engagement letters now a set date where we say, if you don't get us, you know, a majority of the items, by then we can't promise all these reports are gonna be filed
okay,
timely.
sure,
And I think, you know, it was the first year audit. Me getting to know her getting to know us, there was a few miscommunications which caused this, but I don't see this going forward. This will probably come off next year.
okay. And then the last comment around the original and final budgeted amounts says that it remains unresolved. Could you just speak to what that's referencing?
Yeah, so that one, when we get the reports of Skyward. We just enter the numbers that are there, and if they don't match what is given to us on the original and final budget outside of the software, we didn't have that balance. It doesn't mean too much, it just means that they didn't match
So is,
in the financial software. Which that could mean a lot of things were amended at a late time, and they just weren't entered in the software.
okay, so it's unresolved though, so will that show up in our next audit, or is?
It
you
just
have a
depends.
recommendation for, like, Michelle, I don't know, are you? Do
Well,
we
my
need to
question
resolve
too is
it, or,
the way I'm reading this is for the year ending 2023,
right,
June 30th, 2023. So that budget is not matching.
So that is when the comment originally started,
Oh, okay.
is,
Oh, this has been in this.
Yes.
For, this is
Here.
its 3rd year in
okay, I
its
see it
report.
now, right, prior
Okay,
audit
that-
findings.
Yeah,
So this is a legacy problem. This is a problem that predates Michelle's hire.
but you're saying this is from the 24-25 year as well,
yes,
that there's,
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
that occurred as well.
yes,
Okay.
the 23-24.
I wanna check with you on.
yeah, we
you
can,
had that.
yes, yeah, and then,
Okay.
yeah, it might just be what was sent, there might have been updates or something like that, and
Yeah.
we didn't know about it, but.
I just wanted to make sure it's being addressed in
Yeah.
some way, okay. No, that's.
I mean, it's not a huge comment, a lot of our schools.
Well, I mean,
get
it's, yeah, public facing, these are
Right.
public facing documents, and so
Right.
it's just our job to
Yeah.
make sure that.
Yep.
We're addressing anything put it out, right? Okay, thank you, yeah, I appreciate this very much.
I just have some technical questions to address my own understanding of what's in here, because
Okay.
it's all Greek to me, right? So if I look at page 25 of the report, I'm looking at, like, when I look at capital assets, land is part of that, right?
Yep.
So land, 843,000, that's telling me that's the collective audit value of our 3 properties.
Yep.
Okay, with that, assuming they were vacant and had no buildings.
Yeah, and that number, unless things changed, that number came straight from prior year.
I see.
So whatever they had in prior year, we're rolling with.
Oh,
Unless
okay.
there was, land bought.
So that's a number we provide, basically. Okay, okay. And so do we know how long that number has been used? It's possible it's been for years, right?
A lot of our schools, the land, unless they buy or sell,
It just
it
sits there.
sits there and stays the same.
Yeah, okay, got it, making sure. And then if I look at, and this might just be, an ignorance question, when I go to page 42, note 11.
Yep.
Fund balance and net position.
Yep.
I don't see the 7 million that's sitting in our Fund 10 balance, right?
So this only shows what's non-spendable, what's restricted, and what's assigned. That's
I
an
see.
unassigned.
Got it, that's why that's not there, okay. And then if I look at note 13 on page 43, leases, this describes leases that we have in which we're the lessee. Is there anything in this report that addresses our status as a lessor? Does that have anything to do with anything you do?
Are you less over?
Yeah, we have tenants at Good Hope, one of our lands. Is that reflected in this report anywhere? Would it?
It is not.
Should be.
The revenues would be in the.
Right.
Okay.
I guess it all depends. And that is something that wasn't, we also compared to prior years, so I don't know how long that's been going on.
Forever.
So,
20 years.
Okay, so, but typically, but I know the revenue is reflected in here.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be in our Fund 80 revenues, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
there's
wondering,
no. So,
Right, it could be no.
should there be a note eventually in our audits about the fact that we have?
that is something we'll look at next.
Okay.
Into next year, and if it qualifies for the lessor, then we will definitely add.
Okay, just curious about that again. And then when I look at the, what do you call them, the journal items? Those 6 items where you said the books need to be adjusted, I'm making sure I understand, they're below the materiality threshold, and then I looked at the numbers, there's no changes in numbers, right? It's just about where they're assigned. Like the
Basically,
county,
yeah,
so you didn't
basically.
find anything where the numbers were wrong, it's just
No.
needed.
Just
You determine.
reclassifying basically, is a
Got it.
better term.
So it didn't change, like, if I was like thinking of it from a household budget, it's just a question of what category I put it in,
Yeah.
not over or under
Yes.
identifying expenditures. Okay,
Yes.
great, very helpful. Jared, thank you for being pithy and for giving us all this detailed information. Michelle, amazing. I do want to, hold on, Jared. We do, unfortunately for you, allow visitors to come and ask questions if they would like. Let's start with online.
There's no one online.
Okay, I assume, Mr. Martin, that you might have some questions. All right. Our resident accountant, a community member. So you can just stare each other down.
I don't know how it was.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Oh, that's the,
Okay.
Well,
I guess in the.
So normally for us,
Yeah,
is what I've been told by my superiors is how we do it. If the public has comments, I can take questions from the board, but
oh,
not from the public, but the public can address them to
Right,
you, and you guys can
okay.
ask them.
You will
to
serve
be-
as a
to be-
people sis. I'm not looking at right here, right here.
That's legalese famous.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jared, for letting
Yeah.
us know.
So, mostly just comments, one question at the end, he did address most of the questions in the presentation he was giving, and then for the insurance for the bank, just personal note, I probably wouldn't do that unless you're concerned about the bank going under, but it is brought to the board to decide. And then for the weakness that continues each year, a lot of the strict language is why most school districts don't even bother trying. Only way it might make sense is if you, like, as an entire CISA district, decide to hire an accountant, then maybe it might make sense. And then, with the other one for timeliness of communication and whatnot, that's fairly normal with the new auditor. As mentioned, we'll go down with time, like, be removed from the audit notices, but we will get too familiar and friendly with it so that he's actually checking. Won't be an issue, but why generally makes sense to change every 10 years or so, which that's for big corporate accounting, this 10-year minimum change might make sense to keep the longer as a small place, but up to you all. And then for the land thing, that typically in financial statements, that's just the purchase price. However far back, which I got the land, so I'd be surprised if it changed, but and then the only question that I had was on page 11. And for the comparison between 2024 and 2025, there was food services dollar amounts listed for 2024, but not for 2025. And I'm pretty sure that's assumed in other. I was curious about that. So up to the board if you want to ask the auditor about that one. But
I am interested in
Yes.
Yeah, so
what he said.
I believe what happened is, so last year, obviously they listed it out. This year, I believe it's grouped with inside of the other numbers that are here.
Is it under pupil services?
Is this part of the MD&A?
Yes.
I put together the MD&A
Yeah.
and it did not, I could not determine exactly what that amount was from in the statements. Because it is grouped.
Yeah.
So I attributed it to a different in the auditors and the audit report that they gave.
What is MD?
Management discussion and analysis.
Ah.
Basically,
MD.
it is, it just regurgitates information from the financial statement into a shorter section.
Okay. Okay. All right, anything else? Any more follow-up? This is very helpful. And I cannot thank you enough, Michelle. You've come a long road. Has it only been a year and a half since you joined us? It's insanity how much work it must have been to clean this up, so.
This audit is purely Michelle's work.
Yeah.
This is an audit of your work in our district.
It's the first time that you're owning it, so
Yeah.
appreciate it. And welcome, Jared, welcome to the table. It's nice to have you here. I think technically, are we supposed to have a motion to confirm receipt? That's what it says.
I put that on there as a matter of formality. Our policy says we need to confirm receipt and it's listed in our minutes, but if the board would like to do a motion to officially confirm receipt, I would not have a problem with that. That's why I put it there.
If someone wants to make that motion, we can consider it.
I move to confirm receipt of the 24-25 audit.
Second.
All right. Motion by Danielle Bailey, second by Karen Cronwell to confirm receipt of the 24-25 audit. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Jared, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. You're welcome to stay if you wish. Join in the pleasantries.
This discussion went so well. We are 10 minutes. I have a schedule.
Amazing. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I will spend that 10 minutes writing this motion down. So I don't forget it. Hold on. Okay, motion. Let's slow things down.
I actually really appreciated their opening. Yeah, how clear it was like what they're supposed to. To us and it's like, oh.
This is what our job.
Yeah, very humbling. So see it that something
Right.
Right.
All right, Kelly anticipates that we are moving on to item 4A. The student services update.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Kelly. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. I am here to present
What exactly?
your brain. I'm providing a student services update. I'd like to chat with you specifically about social emotional learning. And what that work looks like in the Glendale-River School District, some of the things we've been up to around here. I first want to start with talking about social and emotional learning. As a district, we recognize how important that is. Our staff recognize and realize how important that is and how that can impact students in multiple areas of their lives. And there's no dispute about that in the district. When as a district, we looked at some of the trends from our annual student survey, school environment was one of the areas that we really needed to focus on through our KPIs. Additionally, some of the staff input we received in the May Professional Development Day led us to really focus on positive relationships with our students and creating a sense of belonging for all, and really thinking about and looking at tier one, what are we doing universally in that end. So for us, the cell programming, we know supports the whole child pillar. And again, we all know how important that is. At Parkway, we have dedicated cell instruction. We utilize Second Step for that social emotional learning curriculum. It's delivered to each and every student in grades K-5 through 3rd grade. And it teaches skills in empathy, emotion management, problem solving, goal setting. The curriculum consists of developmentally appropriate lessons, role play activities, discussions, videos, and skill practice activities as well. I've listed out the units that are covered within that Second Step curriculum. And also the core competencies are kind of embodied within Second Step as well, or the CASEL competencies. At Parkway, that Second Step curriculum is also supplemented by zones of regulation. Zones is a curriculum based on cognitive behavior therapy. It teaches our students to identify, understand, and regulate their emotions. And I'm sure you've seen it before. It uses kind of this color coding that we know visuals help our students and really helps continue to teach and solidify really the language of emotions, how to recognize how we're feeling and how to respond when we're feeling a certain way. Those lessons are delivered, the service delivery model by Mr. Trusky and Mr. Tilley for all students. And then this really allows them to ensure every student has access. And then also the units and lessons are also shared with the classroom teachers so they can continue to reinforce the vocabulary and concepts taught to other students. At Glen Hills Middle School, we are also using Second Step as our universal cell curriculum. The delivery model is that Second Step is delivered during resource for our 6th, 7th, and 8th, and during morning meeting for our 4th and 5th students. They sound so joyful. We don't even notice.
It's a joyful noise.
So, and that is being provided by the classroom teachers. And that is really very purposeful to make sure that the classroom teachers are hearing and using the language that's embedded within Second Step. The units are paced out, so the student services team really sits down and helps to pace out those lessons to make sure all the students, at a particular grade level are within the same unit so that we know that language is being shared across the grade level. You can see the units listed out here in 4th and 5th, and then also 6th through 8th. we did do a little bit of adjustment with the pacing, just based on the need to make sure we've got some bullying prevention, and we wanted to come out the gate swinging against bullying prevention, just based on some of the feedback we received from students and from families. So some of our older students kind of reviewed some of the bullying lessons they had received in the previous year, and then added on with new bullying lessons this year. So some students, it was review, but we felt it deserved a review, just based on some of our data. That was helpful. I did link in your handout a sample of the second step lesson, if you're curious and want to kind of see what those look like. Additionally, at Glen Hills, we utilize signs of suicide for students in 7th and 8th grade, which taught our students about mental health and how to seek assistance for themselves or through a friend. And this program is a really great resource to help share that information with our students. We situated that to occur during the month of November, just knowing that November and December can be challenging months for families, for students, and also knowing our students would be leaving us for a 2-week period. We wanted to make sure we got those lessons in before students weren't with us for the 2 weeks. So some more information is listed on that signs of suicide there for you to see. And additionally, we did ask after those signs of suicide lessons, students to do some reflection on relationships, their relationships with other students, their relationships with the staff, just to give us an idea of if there are other students that are feeling that they're lacking in quality relationships with other people. We wanted to make sure we were identifying that. Additionally, we did some essential cell competencies work, and this is ongoing work that it's going to take some time, I think, for us to get there. Our thinking, well, and what we know and what research supports is that cell instruction should be explicit, and we've got that down. We've got a great curriculum, and that gives us the opportunity to provide that explicit instruction in social emotional learning. Mm-hmm. But research also supports how important teacher moves are. And some of the small instructional moves teachers can make that can really reinforce social emotional skills for our students. So things like collaborative grouping, even how you launch a lesson with a student and making sure that you're launching with something that requires students to practice those skills of relationship building with others. On top of that, we also know, and research supports, that if we're embedding some of that cell work within the content areas, we get a greater impact or greater student outcomes. That is really hard to do. And I think some teachers are very natural and very skilled at it. And some teachers just need to be reminded that, like, let's be purposeful about making sure, you know, we're embedding some of this work. Even when you're teaching math, you can be addressing cell. So that's part of our work this school year. We worked hard looking at the Wisconsin state cell competencies, which are aligned with CASEL. We went through them. We did some unpacking, created some I can statements for each grade level, kind of boiled it down. There are a lot of cell competencies to some that we're deeming as essential cell competencies. That is ongoing work that we're doing now. And our next steps with those competencies is making sure we're creating structures for intentional team planning with those cell competencies. So not just, this is where I'm sitting within my second step curriculum, but, and this is how I'm reinforcing that within my content teaching. And then developing tools for some formative measures. So, you know, very much like our academic standards, right? We are offering often measuring student growth towards those standards with formative assessment. So creating some formative assessment, not because we want to grade a student on self competencies, but because we want to know how are we impacting our students with our work. But those will be very much teacher created, and that those will take some time to put together as well. But that's kind of the direction we're heading in. And then with relationship mapping, this is something we did district-wide. We had every student displayed in the building on a PD day, and a set of questions that we had our staff reflect on that would indicate whether or not they had a strong, positive relationship with the student. I could probably dig it up and find out, like, and remind you what some of like the questions we had teachers consider, but it was very much like, do you know family members or guardians of the student by name? Do you know who the student spends time with outside of school? Do you know hobbies and things that the student enjoys doing? Does the student come and seek your assistance if and when they need help? And so those are some of the questions we asked teachers and said, when you're thinking about each student, if you can answer yes to a majority of these statements, then that would indicate a positive relationship with that student. And they went around and just put like a sticky dot on every student. So we had all of their names hung in the hallways and along the tables in the cafeteria. They did like a gallery walk. Okay. At Glen Hills, the student services team then did something similar with the students and asked the students to identify staff that they feel they have a positive relationship, and reciprocated like very similar questions. And one of our wonders was our staff rated their relationships with students really high. And we were like, really?
Was that reciprocated?
Yeah, are the students feeling the same? And for the most part, they are.
Nice.
This is at Glen Hills.
This was at Glen Hills. We did not do the student side of relationship mapping at Parkway. Simply because they're just so darn young. And when we're talking about like the quality of relationships, our wonder is like, you know, how it just is.
Who did you give a hug to this?
Right.
Right, I know. It's sort of a captive audience at that age, right?
Yeah. And we also have like swooped up some of those with our staff responses. Some of the students that we've noticed, they are really lacking good quality relationships. Student services teams in both buildings are kind of making sure they're doing some work to wrap around those students and making sure that they're finding their person or go-to staff member at least. The ongoing work at Parkway is we're probably going to do some relationship mapping again in February, just to see if staff members have like grown in relationship building with students. So we can kind of check in and see, okay, a lot of those were new to the district students. How has that changed? And then at Glen Hills, our next staff meeting, we're taking the data and putting it in front of teams of people to say, okay, this is the staff data, this is our student data, and just doing some like noticings and wonderings. We do have specific students who have identified like a low level of relationships at every grade level, and we try to be like as statistical about it as possible, even though we're not like major statisticians, but we try to like kind of use a bell curve and say, okay, who is demonstrating lower levels of relationships, and we will be working with those grade level teams to develop some plans. So we're going to give like a menu of things you can do that are evidence-based that help build relationships with students, and who on this team wants to take it on for each of those learners. So that's some of the work happening in student services.
So, hi, thank you so much, Phil. This is my jam, but it's not my turn first. Katie.
I do actually have a question that I want to.
I was really just. Right now, but I'm just curious why Mr. Tilly doesn't do specifically second grade. Mr. Chesky does it. It's that Mr. Tilly does.
It's,
All the others.
it's,
Does all of
essen-
the others.
it's essentially scheduling,
Oh,
because we also want Mr. Tilly, because he's a school counselor, to have some time to do some student, like intervention work with students. Who case manages 504s as well.
is Mr. Trustee just a classroom teacher?
Mr. Trustee's he's a bio teacher.
Oh, okay. All right.
But is like really into Sal.
Okay.
Is he the gentleman with the?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my only.
Karen?
I was wondering, so the SOS curriculum is provided during the specials,
Mhm.
basically, so what kind of knowledge do the regular education teachers have with regards to that program?
It was shared out with them, so they could kind of preview the lessons, and then the student services team at a staff meeting, just made sure they let the teachers know. What that entailed and also signs.
Yeah.
For.
Okay. I love relationship mapping. I'm thrilled that you guys are doing it. I'm curious, is this something that you anticipate embedding into the practices annually?
Maybe, we haven't talked that much about what it would look like next year. I mean, I will tell you, like, I came out the gate like so fired up, and I felt like it was really important to have every student printed on a half sheet of paper. And we had like greens, it took me like 5 hours
Yeah.
to set it up, and I thought I can just as easily do this like in a digital format.
Sure.
But I also think it was very impactful for teachers to move, for them
Yes,
to see every student is represented on a half sheet of paper, to physically take the sticker off and put it on, and then to have it like displayed. It was awesome. It felt like kind of a big lift, and then to take them all and put that into data that could be usable.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work where like that would be my learning, is I could probably work smarter, not harder.
yeah,
And harder.
yeah.
And
Can I clarify, was it the picture and the name, or was it just the name?
Just the name,
Love that even more.
because we thought.
Yes.
No, they are.
Exactly.
Thank you. I was thinking this, I was like, I need to know.
Because
Because they know visuals have steps.
we did talk about adding a picture, and we thought, oh, like it would be so nice, and then we were kind of like, no, if
Yeah.
they don't know who a child is,
I love
they
that.
can't put a green dot on.
Awesome. And then feeding, and I would just say, one of the things I might be curious about, if you do continue to embed this practice, is like grade level, but then crossing the grade level. Like then we have like a really dense web, right, of support.
Oh,
potentially.
Are
As
you
the-
talking about for the supports for students that are lacking relationships?
Yeah, and as they go through the grade levels, right? Because we lose track, I think annually. That can be a huge shift for a child.
Yeah.
And so that would be interesting to be able to track that kind of networking and support, and the denser the web is for the
Yeah.
kids.
I agree.
Right, because sometimes a child meets someone who's like a mentor to them or
Yeah.
their important person, and even though that might not be tracked as they go through the grades, that person remains
Yes.
really important.
Transition again.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. This I understood.
I know, I love all of this too. Piggybacking on Karen for like the relationship mapping, I also thought like you could just ask people to write who they know and like what they know. I mean, like put some of the onus on. I'm sure there's just like different methods for like
Yes.
asking teachers to like identify who they have strong relationships with. I had just like a lot of wonderings about how like you are like maybe keeping or tracking that data, like in terms of like, are there common themes or trends with like students you've identified with like low relationships? Like, are you looking at like maybe are there teachers who don't have like is there an expectation of how many of those like stronger relationships that teachers should have? Is it all students? I mean, ideally, right, it's every student in their class, but also that seems really overwhelming,
Well, obviously, every teacher wants.
right,
that,
but I'm just wondering if there are like, because it would seem really overwhelming to me, to like think about all those connections or relationships I have or don't have, and I guess I just wonder if there are like reasonable targets for them, or how you guys think about that, or is it?
We didn't set reasonable targets. We took the data and like found an average for each grade level and kind of set like, okay, this is the mean,
The
right?
teachers or
For the students. So
Oh.
like on average, 8th grade students have identified this many positive relationships.
okay.
And teachers, and because the teachers do the relationship mapping building wide. This is how many on average teachers have identified with positive relationships. And so
Okay.
we did like a mean by grade level.
Is that data you guys would be like willing to share with the board in terms of just like some of that high level, like how many kids you've identified have low levels of relationships or things like that in some fashion? I'm just.
Potentially, we haven't,
You can
like,
think about it.
I
I'm
think
just,
I
I'm just
need
really.
to, and then I think we have to make sure we put it in front of staff first and like, because
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, they've only seen the staff relationship, we're sharing with them the student
Yeah.
lens.
It's a curiosity. It actually ties into like the work we're like the board goals and work we're doing too. Some of our surveys around like identifying groups and demographics and like how to. But anyway, not like tomorrow or whatever. But I'm just like as you do this.
Yeah.
I'm just curious like how our students are
Right.
what it looks like.
Right.
You know. So that's yes, okay. For the second step, so it identified 30 minutes a week for Parkway, and I'm wondering if there's like a recommended amount of minutes of instruction for SE for the second step, and then how many minutes, if you know, of instruction are the kids getting at Glen Hills, because resources like
It's
a 20-minute
it's about
period.
It's about 20 minutes.
So it's a whole resource period dedicated
It's a
to
whole resource period that's
once a
dedicated.
week. Okay, so those are 20 minutes. Okay. Is there a recommendation about how much time kids should be?
About 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right in line with like those second step lessons are about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And sometimes they go a little bit longer, sometimes not, and really classroom teachers can take those lessons and then also add their own flavor as well.
Okay.
And so it's
And
interesting.
embed.
Mhm.
And
Choose
embed,
embed
yeah.
into.
Yep.
Okay. And I was just curious, like how often, because I think Second Step and Castle have been like, these have been the go-tos and zones for like a while,
Mhm.
right? Like how often, or is anybody reviewing the curriculums for like inclusivity, for language, for diversity? Because I know from personal experience, like encountering the zones of regulation in kindergarten, I found some things that I was like, ooh, okay, like this has some ableist language in it or principles, and I just wonder like who is in charge or who's responsible for kind of who does that and when.
We did take a look at second step curriculum last school year. And other curriculums, just kind of exploring and created a rubric to see like how is this faring compared to other things? What else is out there? Are there things that we think are evidence-based and things that we think would be, worth making a move for? And I'll be very honest, it was around that time we received some of that staff feedback in May. And it really made us just pause and say, okay, like we have some things we need to address again at the universal level and not address through social emotional learning curriculum.
Right.
Like we need to make sure that our buildings, right, have clarity in terms of like safety, having universal expectations. And it kind of made us just back away from, okay, if we were to introduce a new social emotional curriculum right now. Yeah.
Ooh, that wasn't my question though. Sorry, just to be clear, I'm not saying a different curriculum. I'm saying this curriculum that we use and have used for a long time. Is anybody like periodically laying eyes on those lessons specifically around diversity and inclusion and like ableist language and some of that stuff? Because this, I mean, how old is Hari? So 10, you know, however many years ago that I started encountering the zones
Yeah.
and the second step or whatever, I found things that I was like, ooh, this doesn't quite sit right.
Right,
And so I'm just wondering if there is somebody or if anybody does that.
Yeah.
Or has looks,
yep,
you know,
we did that in the spring.
okay,
And then we also made sure to get some staff feedback as
Okay.
well
Okay.
about how second step is sitting, how it's feeling, how
Okay.
it's working.
I wonder if there's a way to, if you've engaged parents or will in the future too, and it could be interesting to see how they feel
Yeah.
about it.
And maybe we can put that in during our social emotional, we have one parent university focused on social emotional learning. That would be a good place to garner.
Yeah, awesome. And then my last thing, and this is not like a question that requires an answer, but when you're talking about like pushing SEL and embedding it into the curriculum, and you mentioned something about like collaborative group and how you start lessons, I immediately thought about like kids working in groups on their computer screens and like how like just thinking about the implications of like tech usage and how much kids are using screens in school and like how at what research, you know, like just how we're looking at that and how that is how that integrates with like how we're looking at SEL and moves we can make in curriculum, if it's even like, you know, is that something that you think you guys are thinking about? Or
I hear what you're saying, and maybe I'm wrong, and are you saying is the tech getting in the way
I'm just
of some of that? And when we're thinking about how we're embedding and what instructional moves we're making, about making sure we're balanced in terms of.
I don't have an opinion on it. I guess it'd be like if there was research or evidence out there or data around ways that tech is or isn't, you know,
Helpful.
ubiquitous, and with regard to the skills you're trying to build through second step and capital, you know,
Yeah.
so just like, and maybe that's something for the like tech committee, you know, to wrestle with, or the SEL like that, but it's just something that came up when you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Carly, you can go. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
I have questions of curiosity. I love this. Just makes me really happy. The relationship mapping is really exciting. SOS, I love that you were intentional with your timing and the purpose of it. So, and you know, what I sat here thinking as you were talking about it is that the benefits of that SOS training inure to delay, which has, you know, better prepared students to deal with some of the rigor and challenges of high school. And we're preparing them for that. So that's really exciting for me to know that we're giving them as soft a landing as we can to a very different world. Questions. I'm just going to go through my notes. I'm curious why you do more siloed second step delivery at Parkway, whereas the teachers are doing it in Glen Hills.
Staffing. I mean, truly.
Yeah. You don't have it here, or you?
I think there are more options here, so that, there's more time embedded in the student day when they're with classroom teachers.
At Glen Hills.
Whereas at Parkway, it sits outside of what the classroom teachers are doing right now. I mean, that very, that, like, when I'm talking about like the very specific lessons.
Got it.
Yeah.
So the teachers here somehow are finding space to learn that curriculum, get that PD they need and deliver it. Or are they?
It's essentially like another allied art.
Yeah.
Over at Parkway right now, which is allowing us to provide another prep for our classroom teachers.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Is it what so I'll
I
tell
feel
you.
like there's not a nice way to say
Yeah,
it.
I hear you.
It's a reality. I mean,
That's
we're
good.
trying to make sure that
considering teacher needs and
teachers
student needs and
need prep time. This is something our students need.
Yeah.
And we have some very capable staff who can deliver that.
Right, so obviously, yes, I agree. What I think about, the reason it rattles around in my head is I love it when teachers teach the SEL curriculum, because teachers also learn. We all learn as we teach curriculum. And so my worry is that it's a missed opportunity especially as you look at how teachers are going to embed SEL learning and model it. If your classroom teachers don't necessarily know what that SEL teaching is around behavior, they may not be as prepared to model what they're hoping their students will learn. So it's just something I pose as a question that
Agreed.
rattles around in my head.
Agreed.
I get it, all the things,
Agreed, and I will say that many of those teachers also. Like they also own that, they're
Yeah.
very into like their morning circles, their morning routines. They embed that into their day
Okay.
as well.
okay. I laughed, I just have a note here, when you said SEL learning can even learn with math, and I thought so many kids have mental challenges around math. It's a perfect place to work on SEL skills, especially around concepts of self-worth and capacity, problem solving, resilience, you know, so I laughed when you said that, so I just wanted to notice that. Around relationship mapping, without reference to data, I'm just curious what your scratch and sniff. Did you learn anything as you looked at relationship mapping that made you think, oh, I mean, you've already noticed one, which is that there seems to be a sense of strong relationships here at Glen Hills. But other than that, was there anything else that sort of threw itself at you?
Sure. Right, it would be no surprise that new students have lower levels of like positive relationships.
So unexpected.
That was very expected. Here, the number of positive relationships seem to really increase, that teachers identified really seem to increase as students like increase through the grade levels, obviously, because they know more teachers in the building. There were more identified positive relationships from both teacher and student perspective than I had anticipated. At first I thought this is like a ridiculous inflation. And then when I saw the student relationship mapping data, I was like, all right. I mean, it felt really positive and it felt really good to me, quite honestly. One of the other noticings that I would say we had was some of the students that might need a little extra love and support, like definitely have a lot more positive relationships that teachers identified. So it made me see that like the teachers recognize that there are some students that might need more relationships in this building and they're there. And that it just made me realize how much teachers like recognize that and have that in place for students. And then it makes you wonder for some of the students that have the lower level of relationships are students that, you know, wouldn't jump out at you sometimes.
Right.
That was the biggest notice when I processed, because I was processed with Parkway as part of their professional learning, and that was one of their key notices. Is that students who are fairly compliant and quiet have released in all of their relationships.
Right. I think I have one of those at home, right? They fly under the radar, right? And there's always that sort of question mark.
Yep. What's
happening and what's rattling around in our kids' head that we're having to pay attention to.
Right.
Right, yeah. Interesting. You made me really happy when you talked about sort of a purposeful approach to building relationships. I always worry when we identify students that you're gonna have teachers who are gonna respond in sort of a performative way. Like, I'm gonna get to know you now and ask a bunch of questions. So I love that you're kind of building that coaching and modeling around it. I am curious about, I don't know that you'll be able to track this, but where my head goes is if we map relationships and we see these differentials around students, can we attach that to outcomes like academic outcome, behavior referrals, and have you started that work? It's big work, but that's the secret sauce to me, right?
It's really big work. And we talked about that. We did a little bit of that. But I would say if we were to do that, we would probably need to start like my work smarter. We would need to start smarter with how we're like situating that so that the data is more is easier for us to manipulate.
Yeah. Because it's the mapping work is also interesting because if teachers internalize that, I mean, I can internalize mapping work at any time in my classroom, right? I can sit and just reflect myself as an individual activity. Do I know all my students?
Right,
And, you know, without even
right.
it being part of like
Right.
school-wide PD,
Mhm.
which would be a fantastic exercise. As I sit here, I'm like, God, I should be doing this with the, you know, people I work with and stuff,
Right.
but it's, you know, but from a big picture perspective, that's where I think if we can track outcome to see how relationship mapping and SEL work might be linked to, we know the evidence is in all over the
Right.
country, right? To improve academic outcomes, reduced behavior referrals, reduced IEP referrals, all those things. So I'm curious about that in the long run
Right,
as
yeah.
we do this work.
And quite honestly, just from an act length, and I don't have like very specific data to put in front of you, but a lot of our students that do have academic needs and some of our students that do sometimes have more behavior referrals than other students. The majority of those students have a lot of positive relationships.
Interesting.
Which again, I mean, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to say.
Got it.
It makes me see that our teachers recognize that
Yeah.
building relationships is one of the most effective strategies we can use to
Yeah.
support those students.
Awesome. I've had too much time. Chris.
I think you kind of answered my one question, and that was if there are, I don't know if this is a phrase, but relationship opportunity gaps. And so I wondered about that in terms of our equity lens, and certainly wouldn't expect a clearer answer than you gave now, but it's just a wondering that I had.
Right.
That's a great question.
I
I'm
like the language too.
Danielle has, asked for more information from the board, and respectfully, I'm gonna say no. And here, or not too much, and here's why.
To give us.
It requires a lot of vulnerability for a teacher to say, yeah, I don't have that with everyone in my class. And if it's something that's gonna be broadcast publicly, is there going to be a pressure? I don't know. But I can just say, yes, I'm fully curious, love everything you share, but I don't want to ask for anything that's going to undermine the trust that you've built and the vulnerability.
We also did talk about this as an admin team when we did the student side of relationship mapping, that part of that involves teacher names, and we did not tally how many, which teachers have the highest number of relationships. We didn't do any of that. We just took the raw data, put the data in, and we shredded it all.
Nice.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
And then I just had a question, in terms of, the second step program and other things. Is there also an emphasis on social media? Digital literacy. Digital literacy,
Yep.
okay. James has been, okay.
And there, I believe there's a little bit embedded within second step, but I think we need more, and that's something we recognize, and James is all over that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else? Any follow up? Okay, please follow up.
Oh, yeah, brief. I just wanted to say, I totally hear your point. I think my question I was trying to ask was sort of where Carla was going, is I was looking for more like high level, like the noticings about the data, which you gave, and I know you've actually spoken to it before, so that, and I remembered as you were saying it again, but that's what I'm like, that information is sort of what I was trying to get at, like what groups of, like, what are those noticings you guys are talking about, so that like when we come back to this ever, like we can follow up on like, well, what are you thinking about those noticings now? That's more what I meant. And data, I wouldn't like expect for that to be publicly discussed, but.
Okay, any visitors have any questions?
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say that like when we consider some of this data, we look at like our high level data, we look at our KPIs, and our KPIs around the student environment, right? We know that relationships are a key contributor to that. If we're doing internal work around relationships. And we can track whether or not we're seeing an increase in those relationships. What we can then do is look at whether or not we're moving the needle on that, right? So like, this is like the work that lays under that broad survey, and we should be able to see. And I think within the certain, there's particular lines that we're looking at within that school environment area that encompass some of these questions about students' relationships and how they feel within school. And some of it is peer-to-peer relationships, and I think, like, as we dig into like the school improvement plans and we look at peer-to-peer relationships, it's all of those pieces of trying to patch and do work to build and structure that so that that larger KPI moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin, did you have a question?
And this one, real quick comment, and potentially if you want to explored anything more than abstract generalities, potentially you could look at what would not be subject to FOIA requirements and ask that, or if you're allowed to discuss things in closed session, which it's been a while since I looked at the law, I'm not sure if you are allowed to, potentially, you could do something in closed session related to something more than, or something slightly more detailed.
Thank you for that comment.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kelly.
Thank
As always.
Thank you.
Does anyone need a break, or can we carry on and take our break after this? What's next is legislative updates, which is Chris sharing with us issues around WASB resolutions, and then staffing changes, and then on to.
I could use two different two.
All right,
Yeah,
unless anyone has opposed, we'll take like a 3-minute break.
Well, that's just. I knew we would use it one more time, and Chris. As soon as she said it, I was like. I knew it was coming.
So I think we really need to make more, still ahead of the game, because,
Yeah,
if you would have been on this question.
Yeah. Oh, I hit my tongue too, I held back. I had too many enough, and I was like, but this is a sweet spot for all. We're back.
Yeah, I'll wait for my next bite. Moving on to item 6A, legislative updates. Today, Chris is going to be sharing with us some information about the WASB resolutions for the upcoming convention at the end of January.
Right, so I know that this was attached to the agenda, and want to invite board members to comment on any of the proposals that you either support, have questions about, or are against. And one of the things we will need to do is there are two of them that are diametrically opposed to one another that I'd like people to weigh on, and I have maybe a little bit of background, but would invite anybody else to contribute to that discussion. Okay, so why don't should I just name them off, and then if you have something to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so opposing the removal of caps from the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program. I would guess that we would tend to support that. Is there
Yes.
anybody that wants to discuss that?
No, agree.
What is that one again?
Opposing the removal of caps.
Opposing.
Yeah.
They want to keep the caps.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll try to enunciate.
I missed that one word. They're very important.
Yes. Number 2, revisions to the school district and school report card process. This essentially wants to weigh student achievement and growth equally and eliminate the process of weighting proficiency based on free and reduced lunch population sizes. I am guessing that we oppose that. Am I correct?
Well, how do you feel about it?
I tend to oppose it.
Yeah.
Because I think that there are different challenges, and I don't think that each district should be weighed the same, weighed the same in terms of achievement, that I want growth to be valued.
Yeah.
I don't know, but if anyone disagrees, please say it.
No, I agree with you. I actually would prefer that they took a stance about
if we have to have report card processes, throwing it out and starting over. Because it was created as a political tool, not actually a way to compare school districts. In any sort of favorable way, so. That would pretty much be the only thing I would support. Revision's not enough. Yeah. And this revision's not good.
Yeah, I didn't like the specific revisions. I thought reading the rationales though, and some of the other pieces were very interesting around. The nature of the report card and what they are used for and. Inconsistent ratings that lower expectations of students based on poverty levels being discriminatory. I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting. Things to possibly like ponder here philosophically. But and I would support the state convene like something. It being revisited to actually like give schools a tool they can use. That was also another piece in this one. It was like schools can't use this, like because this isn't actually showing you know, how we're doing, how well our students are doing really. So yeah, and
I think an interesting component to consider too is that, you know, we have local control around a lot of things, but not around that. And around how we assess our own progress. So just something to consider around the idea of the way our public education system is set up in the state of Wisconsin with local control, right?
Yeah, maybe a good something for us to think about for a proposal next year.
Make a note of that.
Yes, making a note. I a year to figure it out.
Are there students to think about that?
No, I support the, yeah, I'm with you, Chris. What you said.
Stand with you. This next one I thought was confusing. It took me a while to figure this out.
Distribution.
Yeah, amendment to resolution 5.22 funds distribution. Essentially, my reading is that it did two things. One, it removed the supervision. Well, the WASB recommends that the state education agency be assigned the jurisdiction to supervise the distribution of all funds intended for educational programs serving youth of elementary and high school age. They got rid of in public schools, so any school system. So that was one thing that it did. But what it also did is it basically said, if the US Department of Education is changed to be federal block grants, to also let that same agency figure out how to distribute.
As opposed to what? Is it, does the legislature?
Well, there was another, there was a prior resolution that said to give, that WASB was in favor of giving money from federal grants directly to school. And I think this resolution is anticipating changes to the Department of Ed, and then therefore what would happen. I don't know if that would make it more political or less political.
Right.
And that's where I was scratching my head. I did not put an oppose or appeal. I don't know. I'm not sure.
And does WASB? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm pessimistic about the ability for these to, this influences their advocacy, not what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah, and I think the changes in distribution of funding to not come directly to the educational agency from the federal government and to go through Wisconsin DPI and then be distributed leaves. Again, like I think that's anticipating a potential move in that direction. Yeah.
Right.
So do you have an stance on this? Or a recommendation?
I mean, I think Michelle and I would be in this place where we would want the funds that we qualify for from the federal government to come directly to the schools. And that we have control over how it's spent.
Right, okay.
Yeah, versus DPI deciding, making up different discretionary rules around distribution. Yeah.
That makes the removal of public schools make more sense too, because it would include distribution then with chart, like all.
Yeah, I just.
Right, yep, another way to get at our funding.
Number 4 amendment to resolution 1.26, the authority to schedule referenda. essentially, the WASB opposes limits on scheduling referenda.
Yep.
So,
So did
because
we-
we're in support of that. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yes, there's some legislation rumbling, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
anticipating that, yes.
Yeah.
Number 5, substance abuse disorder and treatment aid, asking for additional categorical aid to fund school-based substance use disorder prevention and treatment related services.
Yes, please.
Thoughts on that?
It'd be great. If they're handing out money, I would love it.
What are your thoughts?
I have mixed thoughts. I'd rather see the whole thing subsumed under mental health.
Wow, yeah. Yeah.
To
Well,
give more
yeah.
control for the local school districts to make
Yeah.
decisions on what their actual needs are.
Right.
And I'm also somewhat concerned that categorical aid can be used as okay, we'll give you more of this, but we won't give you more
Right.
aid for inflation and things like that.
Right.
So I wondered about its misuse.
Those are really good points.
I stand with you.
I don't really know where I stand because I have mixed feelings on this, but
I mean, the thing is, the question isn't, are they just gonna are they allocating more money? They're asking, do we want to support a specific allocation of funds?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which,
And we think about our work as a K-8 district, so I'm just
Mhm.
pointing out as a K-8 district,
Mhm.
we have some need for substance abuse, right?
right,
Mhm.
But it isn't as great as it would be if we were a K-12
Correct.
district.
Yes.
And it's disproportionately
Yeah.
not impactful for the
Mhm.
majority of the
Mhm.
students that we're working with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those are good.
It changed my mind. I don't like that.
Okay.
I think I've shifted in my view then. From my obvious, yes, please, to,
Mhm.
yeah, speaking from I hear what you're saying from a looking at our needs perspective, this is not necessarily positive for our students. Yeah,
And could result in money not.
yeah,
worse.
exactly.
Yeah.
6, vocational transition for students with disabilities. Again, focused on, we do transition starting at age 14.
right.
And I couldn't tell anything where they were talking about whether or not to allocate new money. It really encouraged collaboration between the Division of Vocational Rehab and school districts.
It's a strange one.
I
amendment,
agree. So does anyone have any thoughts on this? What about you, Karen?
I mean, obviously, we should have strong relationships with DVR. The idea that we need an amendment to promote it is rather jaw-dropping, frankly.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And so, it looks like what they're trying to do is just, really promote that for whatever reason, and it was put forth by the NENA Joint District, so there is no allocation of funding that I noticed in here.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Yeah.
would I stand against it? Never. Do I
Yeah.
find it's astonishing that it needs to be said? It's really disappointing.
Do you think it's the age? Do you think the age is the key in here, where they're making it age 14?
I mean, it might be because it does specifically parenthetically note beginning as early as age 14, but that is when transitions
That's when,
start.
yeah.
I do think there is a practice that's not unusual for districts to start transition at like 18.
I think that's typically.
Right.
That's practice I've experienced in my work in
Right.
high schools.
Okay.
And I think for some of our students, that transition realistically takes quite a bit longer than 3 years, like master a
100%.
skill.
Got
Yeah,
it.
there's a reason it starts at 14. So.
Or it's I think the disconnect too is that the resolution submitted by Nina is different. And the resolution being forwarded by the committee is an amendment,
Mhm.
and Nina seems to make more sense, like of what it's rationale that it's getting at, so that feels like.
Mhm.
The amendment feels strange, but
Mhm.
no harm, no foul, really good.
7, universal state covered meals. And this would, the state covering the cost of school meals for every student regardless of income, except those being funded by, federal dollars. By the federal school meal programs.
Yes, keep going. It wants to establish a fund and, right, and fund universal free meals.
Yeah.
Our families would benefit from it.
Is there any language in here that takes away our power over nutritional control?
No, because there's no actual legislation, right? It's just it would be the advocacy of
Yeah.
establishing and funding, so that would come later. As far as I know, there's no actual
Yeah, I didn't
proposed
realize that.
legislation.
Public Education Endowment Fund, I could be wrong, but I suspect this came as a result of private school endowment funds. But they want to establish a fund.
Not,
Use the endowment, it says it would supplement equalization aid as another aid mechanism, not replace it.
And so they're trying to do the budget surplus, like allocate certain,
Yeah.
they're advocating that pieces of the budget surplus would be placed in an endowment.
Yes.
Endowment.
To benefit education.
So to counter the argument that it's a one-time payout, they're trying to say like, no, if you did it this way, it could be an ongoing financial resource for public schools.
a general public endowment,
Right.
not specific to the district.
Right,
Correct.
right.
That could then be divvied up.
I think it's the way that it gets after the rationale of creating such an endowment fund will help Wisconsin to meet its constitutional requirement to provide equitable educational funding across all districts. To me, feels like it's a purposeful piece to try
Yeah.
to make a statement about the fact that maybe that's not happening.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Which you know what, the committee changed it as well. The language, I believe, was, they said, which some suggest points to a growing trend of systemic underfunding, because I think there was original language. Oh wait, is it this one? I thought it was in here. The rationale provided by, right?
Oh, Claire.
It indicates a growing
Yeah.
trend, and then the committee's like, some suggest. And
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh, but fine,
Yeah.
whatever.
Some is
Yeah.
correct.
When I was at last year's delegate convention, like the difference in political opinions was very much in
Yeah.
evidence. It's
Yeah.
very fascinating.
We were very purple state.
Yeah.
To represent.
Yeah.
it in that
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about this one.
You wanna say more about that, Karen?
No, I just,
Okay.
it just feels like another way to, I mean, what are they gonna do? Ask people to donate to the investment endowment fund and ask us to donate $1 to it on our tax returns and use that fund as an excuse to reduce state aid, and it just feels like work for nothing, how they always play it. They're still gonna try to limit the money we can spend, because none of it addresses the spending limit. They're just making end runs around the issue that really, really matters for public schools. Not one thing we've looked at gets at the spending limits, you know, so. That's what irritates me. I feel like this is all noise.
Yeah.
If I was at the convention, I know that at some point I'd just be like, this is just noise. This is noise to avoid what you should be advocating around incessantly.
It's like, we should write we should put something forward next year.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, and there is a lot already in place.
Right,
you know.
right.
Okay.
All right, amendment number 9, amendment to resolution 3.241, early childhood education funding and
Yes.
public. Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
this is about K3 and
Yeah.
K4, yeah.
okay.
And not just one voice, but.
I did not.
We've been talking about this for years in our district.
Okay. Okay, here's
These are the fancy
the meat and potatoes here, the two diametrically opposed things have been advanced, because they were both brought forward. And they are about decoupling. Whether there should be decoupling between private and public school funding. Or if we should keep doing what we're doing. I did do a little bit of research, and one of the things I looked at is who is in favor of each. And, in favor of decoupling, you'll get School Choice Wisconsin, organizations like Americans for Prosperity Badger Institute, Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. And they would say, you know, that it might, that it basically reduces taxpayers' burden
Sure.
if the money comes from the state. So state stop, you know, giving public schools money and then having them reallocate it and then raise taxes to make up for that. They're saying, just give us the money, right?
It will reduce property taxes.
It will reduce property
Not
tax
taxes,
because
because taxes are still
right,
paying for it.
because the schools will no longer have to levy for what they're having to send out. And please correct me if I say anything wrong in terms of financials. Okay. And then the people that are opposed to decoupling are groups like the Wisconsin Educational Association Council, Wisconsin Public Education Network, and Wisconsin PTA. Now, decoupling would probably make Michelle's life a lot easier. We wouldn't have to put those monies.
No,
No.
no, because she'd be working with less money, which I don't
Yeah.
understand.
That's what makes her life harder.
And, you know, of course, they're saying that this would not impact an equalization aid, that it would come out of a separate pot, but when I did the reading, I'm like, where would the guarantee be for that?
Right.
The thing that concerns me about decoupling is anything that I've read about it, which I'm not gonna pretend I've done a huge dive. But what I have read about it is it removes any possible transparency we can foster.
Right.
From the money that gets funneled into those
Exactly.
private programs. Well, if we continue to have it as part of the, you know, if it's going to exist, I guess I'd like it to exist in a way that allows us to insist on as much transparency as possible, which is still not nearly enough.
Right.
So I guess I would be more inclined to support the lacrosse.
Yeah, thank you for doing that research, because the language is like, it's those tricky, like, it's that amendment language where you're like.
On the surface, it looks great, and then you start looking at who supports it,
That's
why
why
they
they
support it,
know.
and that there's very careful to not say that it would be separate pots.
I guess like a further wondering that I would have is the fact that there is a resolution to decouple or not to decouple versus a resolution around full transparency.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that
So
would
two
be.
resolutions on our.
My inclination in this particular instance is to oppose both, because I think that was so wishy-washy and so stupid that we can't even decide what to put forward. So we're putting them both forward. Potentially these could both pass. And then,
But
they could, because they're separate.
They're separate.
yeah, they were actually both passed.
So then once we
They
have to-
can't. Pretty clear in the delegate information.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, they had to both be advanced because they were both advanced.
There's like.
And there are rules about they have, as long as they don't conflict with a current thing or they're not covered by another thing, we advance it for the delegates to vote on.
Yeah.
So
It says
it
you guys
would
are gonna
be,
have
it
to
would be
consider-
having representation from every school board making that decision or a small committee.
Got it.
If it was me, I would vote against the decoupling and for opposing decoupling, just
Yeah.
to make sure, give it the best chance of if one has to pass,
Yeah,
let's hope the one that is least offensive.
right, and that is my
passes.
interpretation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the ultimate goal of the people who are supporting decoupling is, in my opinion, to fully defund public schools and privatize all primary education, K-12, funded by taxpayers. I believe that is the long dream. And we are moving in that direction, and so decoupling is the next beautiful step towards that dream, which is we're gonna decouple, we're gonna fund private schools, and then we're gonna increasingly gut public schools and increasingly grow.
If I remember correctly, and I may not be, I may be conflating things here, but if I remember correctly, the Wisconsin Realtors Association is against decoupling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're saying this will, because it will defund the public schools essentially,
Right.
which
Mhm.
decreases property values and is not good for them.
Right, and I remember saying this years ago when I was running for the school board. That because I started looking into all this, there's no private school or charter school or voucher school listed on Realtor.com or Zillow under our. Our, our property information, it's the public school, that's, and there's a lot of evidence. About the value of strong public schools for maintaining and increasing property values, so,
And we have one more that is coming to the floor. Currently, WASB encourages the WIAA to require the regulation of all unsafe training methods and performance enhancing drugs, except as determined to be medically necessary. There is a proposal to change that, to just encourage its members, schools to participate and engage in the WIA policy process when necessary and appropriate. And the folks that advance this say that they don't try to legislate us. We should let them do their own thing, and that member schools already have inroads into the WIAA. I am inclined to oppose this because we're schools, we shouldn't be doing performance enhancing, and if they're not doing it, then we'll tell them where we stand. Agree. Anybody disagree?
no.
Okay. Okay, then the rest of them, we'll just discuss as, if you have ideas, these are not being advanced to the floor. Because the committee thought that they were already covered, I don't agree with that in all cases. But it would take, they can still come to the floor if the school bringing them says, hey, if we get enough that they have a chance to get the delegates to say, yeah, we wanna vote on this. And if the number is enough, then it makes its way to the board, to the, delegate assembly. So are there any of these that you want to discuss? They might come up, they might not come up.
I trust you on these.
I have confidence in you.
Oh, I actually just trust you.
I think we could read where we land on most of these.
Yeah. Pretty good reading, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments about these?
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a comment. Chris, this is the first year that I feel like I've gotten a really last year too. Thank you for taking this seriously, knowing what's happening, putting a lot of thought into it and representing us well. No,
Thanks.
love it. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to 6B, staffing changes.
All right, so, per board policy 4140, the superintendent can act on behalf of the board to establish terms of employment, but I do want to, maintain a systems of transparency with the board, so I am recommending the appointment of Erica Lawrence as a human resources assistant. She was a paraprofessional at Parkway Elementary and will be moving into this role, therefore it's an appointment. The hiring of Madison Maisie as a special education paraprofessional, and also the resignation of Marshall Ward as a special education paraprofessional.
Is Ms. Massey replacing Mr. Ward?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, so Mr. Ward has not left his position yet. And so we have posted for that and are looking to hire for that. And then Erica moved into this other position.
Three separate motions.
Sure. Let's start with Erica Lawrence. Is there a motion relating to Erica Lawrence?
I move to recommend the appointment of Erica Lawrence as human resource services assistant.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, motion by Chris Robinson, second by Katie Avalos to approve the appointment of Erica Lawrence as a HR services assistant. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries. Next, Mr. Ward.
I motion to approve the resignation of Marshall Ward as special education paraprofessional.
Second,
Any discussion?
wish him the best. He's going on to study, or is that right? Or he's-
Oh, he's going back to school.
A doctorate in physics.
Oh,
So,
how cool is that?
so.
Love it. I wish him well. May he discover the next tiny black hole somewhere on Earth and rescue us all from it. All right, motion by Katie Avalo, second by Chris Robinson, right?
Yeah.
To approve the resignation of Marshall Ward. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed or abstain? Motion carries. And last, Madison Massey.
move to approve the hire of Madison Massey as a special education paraprofessional.
Second,
Any discussion? Okay, motion by Karen Cronwell, second by Chris Robinson to approve the hire of Madison Massey as a special education paraprofessional. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Motion carries. Thank you as always, Anna, for clarity around staffing. Moving on to item 6C, closed session.
Did you wanna solicit any comment?
Oh, on staffing changes?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Totally forgot. Anyone have any comments about staffing changes? Mr. Martin,
Have some comments on the previous.
on the WASB.
Last
Ah, yes, please. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
just.
I'll try to get these.
You can come ding dong the bowl. I never do it intentionally. Just.
There was some question on block grants and how those get sent out. A lot of times, the federal government will specify who is or is not in charge of the block grants unless it's. State legislature passes something specifically, like during COVID, the governor got control of pretty much everything, and then. For that is, they've designated, say, up to the state legislature, so. If there's a policy in place that. Usually will be followed by federal rules, and. For the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, at least to my knowledge, typically. That, which is a subset of Department of Workforce Development. At least as far as I know, pretty much only works with adults that say get injured on the job and they. I'm wrong on that one, okay. So, I'm glad you all know more than that. Anyway. See, and then. If the K3, K4 resolution does pass and there's potential partnership with daycares that have a recommendation for.
Whatever do you mean?
Anyways, anyway.
Advocacy partners.
And for the separate versus and keeping it together for school funding. And just give the example of Florida where it is decoupled, but they do have surprisingly good open information records. And there's apparently several dozen students apparently named #2 that are getting vouchers sent to private schools
In Florida.
in Florida. So that would be potentially one reason to keep things together, since I don't think, say, Anna or Michelle.
Is it the
would like-
cast of Stranger Things?
Thing 1 and thing 2.
And then last one, which I know there won't be an answer on that one, but I'd be curious if, say, for the drug one, if transgender students going from, say, female to male would be considered in a performance enhancing drug or not, which no idea on that one.
No,
Not a
it's
question.
very
Interesting.
Yeah.
And also, I think needs to be fought at a different price.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Yes.
All right, 6C, potential closed session. Well, someone would have to make a motion. Someone would have to make the motion for us to go into closed session.
I move into closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibilities, specifically to discuss the superintendent's evaluation.
Second.
All right, motion by Karen Cromwell, second by Chris Robinson. We'll take a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Katie Avalos?
Hi.
Karen Cromwell?
I,
Danielle Bailey?
Aye.
Carla Pennington Cross votes aye. We are officially in closed session.
Can we just say what?
Yeah, we will be coming.
Marathon.
Oh, okay.
We can skip that one, but because we're gonna move fast.
Yes.
Are we back on?
We are back on.
Okay, we're back in open session. We had a very brief and uneventful discussion in closed session with Anna about what a fantastic year we've had in 2025. So we don't need to go over all that again. But Anna, we appreciate you. We're thankful you're here with our superintendent and
Thanks. I'm thankful to be
And
working
that-
with all of you.
you're in this
Thank you.
day. So.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to school board self-assessment. Today is reflection, right? And then in 2 weeks, as we're gonna do with Anna, making sure we set final goals. In 2 weeks, when we come back, we'll set goals for ourselves. But I thought we would just take a moment to go through what what I thought were some of the highlights of the school perceptions survey and kind of where we are. This slide, who benefits and how, we don't need to do that. I was thinking if there was time, we could have a discussion about what the purpose of evaluation is. I will say, this is the quote I thought of when I saw what our results were. Because there were some areas on our school perception survey where our estimation of ourselves went down.
because we know.
And it's because we know more. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. And I felt I saw that reflected in our results, because in some areas, our reflection on our own knowledge and all that went down, which only makes sense if we know more and we've learned, I don't know anything about that.
Or that's more complicated than I initially thought it
Right,
was.
exactly. So I found that interesting. So I love that we all have this mindset, that we're not sitting in a sense of like self-praising adulation. In last year in our memo, we set 3 goals for ourselves around operational knowledge, data expertise, advocacy and engagement. And I would note, something we've talked about. These are not outcome-based goals. These are sort of self-growth goals. And my hope is that in the coming year, we will discuss it, that we focus on outcome goals, not task goals, right? Because if we focus on outcome goals, this stuff just happens naturally
Sure.
as we do the work, right? But we wanted to grow in these 3 areas. So I perused the school perception survey that we each took to see if I could cull anything from it about these 3 areas. So I looked at operational knowledge. These, if you look at the statements I've put up on the screen, these are the statements that are contained in the survey and then how our scores moved. So in operational knowledge, we saw growth in understanding budget and finance, and I think we can thank Michelle and Karn for working hard on that, and for all of us have done all our work as well, but we've seen growth there. Where we didn't see growth, where we stayed stable was in our understanding of a process to review facility maintenance needs and all these sort of non-instructional support services and operations. So we still amongst ourselves. So a score of 2 is like, we're starting to learn. A score of 3 is, we're almost there. So we're still feeling like we have room to grow around understanding facilities and all our support services. And then where I saw a number drop was what?
Keep going.
Staff authority and responsibility is well defined and granted at the appropriate level. We went from 3.5, which is like, yeah, we're almost there, to 2.5. And that was because 3 of us chose not sure. So I found that really interesting. We know enough to know, we don't know.
Yes, well, also we had some changes.
Yes, very much. So interesting. So, I mean, this is kind of interesting for Anna, right, to ask,
I'm trying to kind of interpret that question.
Yeah, exactly. Not sure what it means. Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. I was just gonna say.
Anyone can interrupt me at any time, please.
No, I think the growth is reflective of our big push and our focus. On
Yes.
finance.
Yes.
These other things just were not the priorities this year, and so we grew where we intentionally put our effort, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think these are good results. Data expertise, big growth. We, our ability, we manage by facts and our decisions are data driven. We feel really strongly about that now. And again, it's because of strong leadership that's being responsive to our asks. We grew on our view of whether we're benchmarking, whether we have a schedule and protocol to review data. So good results. I found the last question, the last statement I included there because again, not quite sure what it means.
Yeah, me
You know, that's a school perception survey saying we examine data to help district leaders identify groups of students.
I don't find that that's our job.
No, exactly, exactly.
We'd be breaking some laws.
Yeah. And yet, I mean, we did it tonight, like Chris, when you asked, are we looking at relationship opportunity gaps? Kind of gets to that.
Yeah, I think
We, yeah,
the way that I would look at that is if there are glaring pieces of our school report card or things like that, it would
Right.
be. To me, it's the push on, like the push you made tonight to say, like, we have opportunity gaps in our district. How are you responding to that?
Sure.
right,
Right?
right.
Yeah, I actually think we do this. I think the question is like, when they do the we as a board, you start to question like, what is my role in this? But
Right.
as a board, we receive data about the groups we are identifying who need additional
Well,
support.
and as a board, you hold feet to fire and accountability around making sure that outcomes are
Right.
changing.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
And I feel we do that. I feel like we do a good job of pushing.
Perhaps this just allows us to remember that next year we should review the questions, and if we're unsure what they mean, we come to a collective.
There's a different question, which is whether we need to use the school perception survey.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah, that's the. Okay, advocacy and community engagement was our third area, and I do want to highlight that first one. We encourage constructive and professional discussions at board meetings. 4.0, we gave ourselves a straight A. And so I think that's great. We regularly discuss legislative issues, also growth. We committed to that and we've done it. We're learning. We obviously think we still have room to grow on outreach to legislators. So
Yeah.
we'll just keep working on it.
Yeah.
Right. But we did grow on that. Other tidbits that I thought were interesting. We work with the superintendent in a spirit of mutual respect, open communication, trust, and confidence. And yes, we all share a very, very strong sense that we have a healthy relationship with Anna. I just threw these things up there. You know, I think we observe in ourselves.
Have committees, so.
Yeah, the committee one is weird.
We do, I mean.
Oh,
we go.
we don't have committees.
Oh, board committees. Oh, I was reading that
Board
as,
appointed committees.
I was reading it as committees. Okay, yeah.
So three of us were not sure because we didn't know what that question was asking. What I saw was that we still have concerns about leadership succession, which is not really a performance issue, but just something to think about institutionally, right? Not just for staff and leadership, but also for us, right?
Yes.
As we move through the years. And I see that we maybe need to do a little work or can think about whether we want to do a better job of recognizing students and teachers in schools. You know, and for me, not even for outstanding performance, just to honor
For sure.
the work that's being done, right? Whether we call it that or not. So I found these to be interesting results. What I see in it is that we're still being hard on ourselves. We're still engaging the process of have very high expectations of ourselves. So I don't know if people have thoughts they want to share about any of this or about how I feel we're doing.
I mean, I will say a few things that confused me were things like. I felt like I've Gray where I was like, I'm not sure that our board does that, right?
Yeah.
Like and so trying to interpret the intent of the question, it's like, do we ensure that there's an array of options for students? Yes, we absolutely do. Do we make sure that all students have access? Like, that's not what we touch. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting, like, when I look at that question, when I think about the fact that, like, we've largely expanded our extracurricular programs, so there are many more options for students, so when I read that question, like, the process is there for them for access and in terms of that, but then it's, to me, is like, there are processes like transportation or things like that are barriers.
That's what I was thinking.
Right,
Right.
so like helping the board support and with
Limited funds.
resources, right? Like it
Mhm.
becomes hard to support some of those
Right.
barriers and we have to pick
Yeah.
and choose.
It does say addressing,
Yeah.
even
Well,
that
yeah.
conversation and like awareness, but
Mhm.
yeah.
That's it. That's all I've got from the school perception survey.
Thank you for this.
That I thought was worth highlighting.
Yeah, no.
Just because it's a lot, if you want, you can go to my folder. And if you are desperate for like detailed data, you can look at every one of the 800 questions on the school perception survey. I tracked where our numbers went. Are we stable? Are we growing? Are we shrinking? It was an interesting eyeball, you know, if you step away from it. I don't know. I mean, my own take is that, again, just like, I mean, we're all in the same basket, right? I feel like we've had a great year.
Yeah.
I feel like we've built a rapport as a board. We're respectful of each other. We're self-aware.
If we go back like to Danielle's point around the other, was it not the other tidbits? Operational knowledge.
Yeah.
So like, there definitely is like, the finance piece is still a growth, I mean, we still want to continue to move and grow in that area, but I think to your point, like, there are some pieces in operational knowledge that need to be strengthened, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
That was one of the things, I think that's where I saw some crossover.
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why I
yeah.
just wanted to kind of note that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's only so, when I looked at this, I thought there's only so much I can learn in a year as a
Right.
school board member who's not full-time, right?
Right.
I'm sure we touched on all these things, but I just can't retain it all
Yeah.
the time, you know, to know what's happening. Unless I gave myself a Friday update.
Well,
To like, you know, capture what I learned this week and try to remember it in a month, right?
I think it's a little bit cyclical and situational as these things come where your focus is going. Like obviously ours drawn to finance, fiscal, you know, obviously, so.
Yeah.
Now we'll see sort of what naturally we can grow and do.
Yeah, kind of the lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. Now exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you need to do eat of knowledge in this past year, and I think we've done a good job of that.
Yeah.
And I think we've each, I hope I've settled into this role as the president.
You want
As
to be a
effectively.
dictator?
I do, I am my totalitarian model as well. I've seen each of
Already
us.
staying forever.
I've seen each of us working hard to try to do well. So yeah, before we go there, any other thoughts or comments anyone wants to share about the past year?
I'd love to see us start bringing teachers and students and
Yeah.
programs back in. I hadn't realized really until I saw this slide that we've
Right.
kind of fallen off that.
Yeah, we just don't do much of it anymore.
It kind of sucks to ask them to come in all the time,
Yeah.
late to late meetings, like,
Yeah.
it could be more about us being, go with it, pushing it.
sure, sure.
A little bit of
The
both.
recognition can go and
Yeah.
can
Right.
look differently.
I think one person had written a comment like, Carla writes cards, but you know.
Yeah.
I hate me.
Okay, yeah, I mean, and even
Did you
that,
write that?
I'm, you know, somewhat ad hoc. I have a giant pile of thank you and, you know, blank cards, but sometimes I just don't get to it because of other things. So next meeting, we'll set goals for 2026, and I post this up as a list of potential things to ruminate on before we get to 2 weeks from now. New in town, we got KPIs. So if you saw the email that Anna, had suggested, for instance, on a community survey, there is a metric we could tap into to see how we're doing on some engagement issues. But you might want to review the KPIs before next meeting and see if there are any of those KPIs that we could track as a measure of our competencies and success. I would encourage us as we think about setting goals to step away from to-dos, like tasks and personal tasks, and look towards institutional outcomes. Because that's really our success, right, is around institutional outcomes. And we always are thinking about this, whether we step into operational detail or oversight, right? The way we set our goals can help move us to oversight. And then the questions I think we're gonna need Anna really to help us with. How do we measure success? How do we track effort, right? That's not necessarily our bandwidth, but I think we'll need your assist in that. And then finally, I would encourage us to think realistically about what our expectations are. Because we want to fix everything all the time and make the world perfect. I think all of us here are idealists, but realistically, where do we set our expectations for ourselves to map with what Anna's working on and what our leadership and our staff are working on, so we're all pushing in the same direction. So I don't have any ideas on how to set goals, to be honest.
I do.
You don't have to raise your hand.
No, I like to, I'm trying to be, I'm just trying to
Go.
be mindful. Well, so as I was looking at what Anna put together, for her evaluation and how it's a reflection of what you do for other leadership, I think that it is more outcome like oriented versus the school perception survey is almost all task oriented.
Yeah,
It's all about
exactly.
task and process. And I would love to like kind of play with this idea of doing like what you're doing for your evaluation, aligning it with board goals, or I'm sorry, the legislation that like outlines what boards are supposed to do, right? Like so there's that, and then making it more specific by doing our KPIs. I played with ChatGPT on that a little bit anyway, and I kind of suck at ChatGPT, but like I think that it might not be a heavy lift to kind of like, because I think it would be great if we're kind of mirroring, like evaluating ourselves the same way that everybody else is in that
absolutely.
way. And then just making sure that it's tied to our more specific like goals and stuff. So that's kind of where my head was going. And then there are like, so thinking about that, and then
How do we do that? Would we just create a?
I'm just trying to think, so when we met and we workshopped, we looked at sort of, like, I think we incorporated some of the national board
like
standards.
the
National
Lighthouse
study,
Mhm.
was it the national board studies, like the National Association of School Boards, and then the Wisconsin Association of School Boards? But I think too, you could look at like criteria of high functioning boards, like pull from the.
like I
Lighthouse
think
study.
the content.
Yeah.
Might be really good at just being like like I think
Like
that
you
we
could
could just
just
collab,
kind of move that together into more of a.
but like giving us that sort of systematic way to look at it, instead of like.
If we're gonna do that, would you envision you having capacity to do that, or would one of us have to?
I mean, I could take like, so this
Because it's a great idea, so Chris knows what I'm gonna say next.
Yeah, no, I already started doing that, but I guess my question was sort of like, how are we going to select a tool? Are we gonna do it at the next meeting, or is it something we can, like, I could work on and then share with Anna and let her tool, like, noodle with, and then like.
Or if you would want to set a meeting with me, Danielle,
Yeah.
play with this together too.
I think
Yes, right, like
You
that.
could make that happen, write something, bring it to the next meeting, or share it beforehand. If it's
Okay.
ready, and then.
I'd love to do that.
That's a great idea.
Thank you, Danielle.
Let's coordinate the calendar.
I thought you were gonna be like, no, because when I talk to you, people are like, oh, okay, great,
Go for it.
okay.
I've shifted. I was thinking that it would be nice to continue the school perception survey, just to have a 3-year track, but the more I thought about it, the less appealing it is.
Sure how accurate it is about.
Okay, so you're going to
Uh-huh.
propose a
Yeah.
structure. Nice,
Yay.
nice, done. That's it. That's all I've got. Yeah,
Do you have anything you wanted to add?
yes.
I suppose just one quick comment for the administrative succession planning. I believe Nicolay has worked something out where they have a succession plan for administrative roles, or at least a template of if, say, Kabara's gone and someone needs to be in it.
Oh, yeah, we have that.
Yes.
Talking about like when Anna hires of us, which we hope is never.
Or even build.
But building rights too, right? And like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, no, I hear you,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
All
maybe
right.
they have,
Rest assured that we do have.
maybe they have that too. Probably not.
She emails it to us every time she goes on vacation.
Yep.
Which is rare.
With everybody-
Oh, board planning, that's what it
Lots of
is.
things coming up.
Yeah, most importantly, who wants to lead the grounding at the next meeting?
I will,
Okay,
since I'll be coming with gold, right?
sweet.
Okay. I love all that deep thinking done. Yeah. The chat GPT. I'm just kidding.
Didn't say it was your deep thing.
And then you guys have seen the list of all the activities coming up.
Yes, yep,
Um,
so many.
Very important for you to be at the choir concert, because I will be accompanying on several of the songs. So you can watch me make one mistake after another.
We have the one on the 14th. I can't promise anything besides that.
Those both say 14th, but I think it's 14th and.
Yeah, the dates
Yes.
It is.
A smelly bee. Third, 14th and 15th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anything else on board preview and planning?
I wonder if this year, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Do we need to notice the convention?
Oh, yes,
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 we
thank
do.
you.
Thank you, Chris.
I was just gonna say, I feel like every year we do the convention and then kind of hope to share out. And it like,
Yeah.
it doesn't like at a meeting, it doesn't always feel like the best time. And maybe like just wanna think about a way where we can have like an effective share out or share resources or.
Workshop or.
I mean, I didn't want to say it, but kind of, but like, you know.
Well, we
just
have a
for-
workshop at the end of January scheduled.
I don't have a specific, I'm just like, maybe if people were open, or even just like.
Is that something we could loop back around and have a discussion around once we have a sense of what content?
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there, like, that's,
Yeah.
no concrete ideas.
Cause there's, we're at the beginning of January, but I know Anna's about to start, chugging forward on, referendum preparation. So I think
Right.
it may it might get sidelined. It's a great idea, of
Well,
course, but
yeah, I do think, for what it's worth, I don't know if it needs to be added to a meeting or whatever, but, over the holidays when we were gathering with people, they were questions were asked.
Oh, yeah.
And information was shared and a few responses were. The buildings are a mess. What are we doing? And I was like, that's a reasonable question and just know it's on our radar, but we had to we had to get things righted.
Yeah.
And this is what we need for the district to function.
Yes.
And also, we're aware, but one of the things that we want to be sure we understand is how this city, how the district as a whole wants to move forward. Because it should not be the only people in this room on a given night who make that decision. And so they were open to that statement.
Good.
But they had those concerns, it was two separate situations that.
Yep.
That.
And those are very legitimate and
Yep.
fair concerns, and I think really just helping the community understand that we can't have new buildings with no staff either.
Right.
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Yeah,
That's the
I know
reality.
you know that.
Yeah, but just as a talking
Yeah,
point.
absolutely.
Proactive, I feel like, I think I mentioned this about that too, proactive, talk like. Addressing it before it becomes we're answering to other people's questions, like so that it is also top of mind and there is a plan there too.
Absolutely.
So I think that's to your. Off topic, so move to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion.
Oh,
pending.
No, I'm sorry,
That's okay. There's no second yet.
I'm
Yes.
getting from.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, we've been doing that.
I had someone Monday, could have been Tuesday, who knows, this week, who came in and looked at me and says, "Hi, I wanna buy the building. I heard it's up for sale."
Were they at a city council meeting or something?
I have no clue, but she had like a middle school child and everything of the sort. I said, "Oh. Well, nothing's been decided that I know." And everything, and I said,
No.
"You know what? We have a school board meeting. You can come this Wednesday to it and see." Well, apparently you didn't come. But can I get like your business card or
Yeah.
does the school
Oh,
board
right.
where they
I'll
can
give you-
contact?
I'll give you my business.
Or something like that, or
Yeah.
You don't know, they should talk with Anna.
Yeah.
for them, and I thought, well, I was just like, oh wow,
No one's reached out to me, so.
wow. So I was just, she goes, "There's so much I could do here." Oh, and this and that, and I'm like,
Okay.
come to the school board meeting and talk about it.
Any
So,
idea what you wanted to do?
Make your check out
One
too.
say, but she goes, "Oh, there's so much opportunity here. There's so much I could do here.
Sounds like a deal.
Do this." And I was like,
3-story apartment building?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you my card. I'll give you a chunk of them.
just a couple or whoever.
We don't have business cards. I guess I could make myself business cards, but I haven't. We have name tags.
Right,
we have to
check it for, yeah.
This part, we can do all that. You wanted that?
Just since referendum came up, the FAQ page was a useful tool, I think, for you last time. So
Yeah,
right.
I wanted that up again.
Working on it.
And newsletter.
Questions on it.
Anna's on it.
Yeah.
There's a pending motion.
Second.
There is.
Motion to adjourn, second by Karen Cronwell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And we are off the air,
Yeah.
still coming off the air.
Why, what kind of?
Oh, no, let me grab you some bird.
Okay, sure, singing.
Oh. She said the parking lot is slippery. She said Michelle be very careful walking.
You want an arm?
That was literally, I was about to say, like, no, but I just.
Like with the lady who's
Yeah,
driving
everybody
around.
else wears